Hi guys, and welcome to the channel. My name is King Ches, and today I'm going to be making a video for you all about Gwent, the Witcher card game. So today's video is basically going to be all about my views and my experiences of Gwent. I'm a fairly new player to the game. I joined probably 3 months ago, and I've pretty much been a free-to-play player. I did buy the starter pack when that came out at the start of this patch, but that is literally the only thing I bought for the game. So I've done it all from the ground up, from free-to-play, and I've pretty much been self-taught. I didn't know anybody else who played the game. Funny story really, I only started playing the game because I am actually from Gwent, place in South Wales, and I saw this game called Gwent, and I thought, that looks quite cool. I've never actually played The Witcher, any of the Witcher games, or read any of the books, although I have heard great things about the games. So when I saw the game Gwent, I thought, yeah, I'll give it a go. And I haven't looked back since. I instantly fell in love with the game. I think the game is brilliant. My initial experience with the game when I first started was I found it quite not necessarily difficult to grasp, but I quickly realised that I had a lot to learn, and that's what brought me to watching other content creators out there. Watching a lot of their YouTube stuff to learn how to play the game better, to learn the game as quickly as possible, to help myself, as I am quite a competitive person. I wanted to be the best I possibly could, which turned out to be quite good. Last patch I managed to qualify for Pro Ladder. I did get up to 4,200. When the announced Pro Ladder was coming out, I was around the 4,000 mark, and I put in some quite a lot of hours then to try and get to 4,200, which I made, which I was quite happy with. I got to 4,200, which was probably my greatest experience in the game so far. I loved it when I got to 4,200. It was a massive relief, and it was all through being free to play, which made it that much sweeter. The fact that I didn't really have a meta deck, I had to just piece together what I could, read online, and put one together as best I could. I know a lot of people were running Dagon. A lot of people were running Dagon trying to get to 4,200. I think my experience from 4,000 to 4,200 was probably 60 to 70% Dagon matchups, which was probably my worst experience of the game so far. Was the fact that it was so much Dagon at the end of last patch, trying to get to that 4,200. I personally ran a little bit of Dagon, but it wasn't my favourite deck, and my piloting skills weren't the best with it. So I switched and played Dwarves, and I love Dwarves. I'm sad to see that they're not quite tier 1 this time, because Dwarves are my favourite deck. I love Dwarves. That might be because they help me reach 4,200, but I just like the thought of playing with lots of dwarves. It reminds me of Lord of the Rings. I think that's one of the reasons I quite like it. But yeah, so I managed to make it to 4,200, and like I said, I had a brilliant experience last patch. I loved every minute of the game, apart from maybe the 70% Dagon. I did get a bit taxing, but I mean, you expect that when there's something up for grabs, everyone's going to use the best deck. So I got on with it, and I found quite a lot of success with dwarves. I found that my dwarves, I felt that it was probably a good matchup for me, which was nice. But yeah, so I enjoyed last patch. Last patch was great. Like I said, it was my first patch. It was the first thing I'd ever played on for Gwent, and I really enjoyed it. However, this patch, I've seen my reason for making this video is the current community consensus. I wouldn't call it a consensus because not everybody feels the same, but a lot of the community out there, including content creators and figureheads of the community, are unhappy, shall we say, with the current state of Gwent, and different things at the moment regarding Gwent. So I wanted to make a video and put my 2 cents in on the current debate. I have posted on some on Reddit and other people's content, but I thought what the best way to get my own point of view across was to make a video. So what is my point of view? Well, my point of view on the current patch is I am a massive fan. I think this patch is much better than last patch, in my personal opinion. And I love last patch. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. I quite enjoyed the old Scoia'tael Scorch deck, where you just keep all your golds and scorch the board in rank 3. That was one of the decks I did have quite a lot of success with, and I did quite enjoy. But I think the change to golds is a great change. There is an issue with it, the fact that a lot of golds can't be run. However, that's easily remedied. You just change these little things you can do to change them, possibly make some of them immune to certain things, things like that. So, I mean, I don't want to see Trispa come back and be completely untargetable again. It feels bad when last patch, when you ran up against a Dagon Swarm deck that had Trispa and you were planning a long range and they just Trispa'd at the start, and you knew you were going to lose, because what can you do against Trispa that's buffing all the units all the time? It became quite annoying. However, I do feel Trispa now is completely almost unusable. You play Trispa, if you're running control Scoia'tael, you zap it. If you're playing Radovid, you lock it. Pretty much, or you battering ram it. You a couple of times, you take it down. Everyone's running a couple of battering rams. There's so many ways to kill it or lock it. So I feel possibly making it immune to one or other could be a thing to make it more useful. It wouldn't be useful in every matchup, and again, it wouldn't be necessarily the greatest gold, but it would be more viable and things like that. There are many things you can do to the golds. I feel that golds are in a better place now that they are interactable than they were last patch. I just feel that some of the cards need a little bit of a tweak, but that I feel isn't too much of an issue. I feel that CDPR will be able to remedy that quite easily for next patch. So I'm not too worried about that as a general thing. However, another problem that a lot of people have had with the game is the power creep. Bronzes are now on average worth between 12 and 14 points, maybe something like that, 11 and 13, something like that, around there. And again, I can see the issue. I mean, it's a different game now that there's a lot of points on the board and things, and that's also enabling another problem, which is marigolds, which I will get onto in a bit. That is something I do want to touch upon. But the fact of the power creep, I don't think is quite as much of a problem as people are thinking. I think the reason there's been such power creep, that you are seeing these massive points is partly to do with Northern Realms, the fact that they are very high tempo, and they're very efficient. That's the other thing you've got to look at, the fact that they will deck themselves quite often, which means they're getting all the points out of the deck, which if you don't have all those points in the deck, then the computer isn't, the deck isn't good enough. But the fact that they can get every single point out of the deck is why they're so strong. And I think that's not a bad thing. It takes a lot of setup to get all your cards out of your deck. It takes things to go quite smoothly. and if you get disrupted, it can be a real pain. I personally run Radovid Northern Realms armor deck, and I love the mirror matchup because you just disrupt them and it really hurts them. Really hurts them. So you concentrate on disrupting in the when you play Northern Realms, especially the Radovid one, which runs a lot of blue stripes commando blue stripes commandos and blue stripe scouts, and you just disrupt them from being able to chain them together and pull them with their Reaver scapes and things like that, and they end up with a bricked Reaver scout, or not being able to get all their scapes out. And I mean, it can be really tough when you can't efficiently thin your deck. You come to round 3 with lots of cards, and you're in a pickle. Another way of beating it is also winning round 1, which can be difficult against Northern Realms. I will grant you that. However, if you win round 1, you can then make round 2 very short, and then have a longer round 3, which again, especially the Radovid deck doesn't deal with so well. So I don't think necessarily that Northern Realms is an issue with the amount of points they have. The only reason that they have such high tempo is the fact that they're so efficient. They deck themselves. They can get every last ounce of power from their deck, which I think is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, there are, in my opinion, there are 3 tier 1 absolute decks at the moment, with Northern Realms, both Radovid and Henselt both being tier 1, Dagon Consume being tier 1, Dagon again. I've heard that he never dies, and he definitely seems to. The 2 patches I've seen, he seems to be very prevalent. He is actually the most used leader at 4,000 plus MMR, and I do see him a lot again this patch, which I'm not too worried about this patch, because you don't see him as much as last patch. I probably see him less than 50% of my games, but I see him more than the other leaders, which is fine. I don't mind that, as long as it's a strong deck and it's quite an easy deck to pilot, and the fact that everybody plays him all the time, they're comfortable with it. I know I'd be running dwarves if dwarves were tier 1 this time. I'd be running them a lot more than I currently am. So I don't have a problem with Dagon this patch. Again, he is tier 1 and he is very strong. And the other tier 1 deck is the newcomer, Control Scoia'tael. It's recently found a lot of use. I know that a couple of people on the pro ladder absolutely smashed Scoia'tael. They were running variants on Control Scoia'tael, and I know somebody hit top of rank ladder with it, and ever since then it's really taken off. And I especially the last weekend, I saw a lot of Control Scoia'tael. I was seeing that more than 50% of the time for a day or two. It has calmed down a bit, but again, that's another tier 1 deck, which shows that there's three top tier decks, but they're only very slightly stronger than the top tier 2 decks or the lower tier 1 decks, where you have like movement Scoia'tael, Falthurst probably would probably be considered tier 2 or low tier 1, Northern Realms Spies. So I mean, that's 6 decks there, and then of course you've got Mill that you run up against quite often. Well, not as often, but you do run up against it, which is sort of in a tier on itself, as it's outrageously good in some matchups and outrageously bad in others. I personally think Mill's a brilliant thing for the game, especially at high competitive levels, because it adds an extra level of skill to the game. The skill of preparation, especially in tournaments. I recently entered the Gwent Slam qualifier, and one of the things that I had to think about when I was entering was, what am I going to do with Mill? What am I going to do when I come up against Mill? And my my own way of dealing with Mill was run Mill, and I did quite well with it. I actually had my worst ever misplay, I think, in my entire Gwent history running mill, because I have very little experience with it. Um, and I still very nearly won the matchup against Dagon tier 1 deck with it, because Dagon just can't deal with it. I did lose that against a top player due to the fact that I had never piloted the deck, and I made an absolutely awful misplay, which ultimately cost me my tournament status. However, I still maintain it was the correct decision to take mill. I think if I had won that, I would have gained a bit more experience with it, and I think it would have carried me through the tournament quite nicely. I did reasonably well. I think I finished 65th, they said, out of 512, which I'm quite happy with, especially as it's my first tournament. And I'm still learning, especially a lot of the decks. I am very comfortable with Northern Realms this patch, but the other decks a little less so, especially as I ran a lot of dwarves last patch. I haven't used a lot of dwarves this patch because it's not quite meta. When you do tournament sort of or high ranked, you want to be using the best possible decks. But yeah, I digress. Back to the state of the game. I feel due to the massively diverse deck choices you can use, there being at least 6, 7 if you include mill decks that are completely viable, can get you to the top of rank ladder if you're good enough. 7 decks that can do that. When I think back to last patch, it was 2, maybe 3 if you include Skeller Discard, which was very high efficiency. I feel this patch is a lot better, but a lot healthier meta to be in. I know a lot of people, and I don't really understand why people are unhappy with the state of the game. I feel somebody I watch quite regularly did mention the fact that that a lot of people who've been playing the game for a long time are getting a little bit stale. I don't think that was the word he used, but that's what I kind of read into it. The fact that there's only one game mode, and there has only been one game mode for the 10-11 months the game's been out, which I can totally understand. That isn't something I can talk about, as I've only been in the game for 3 months, so it doesn't feel stale at all to me. However, I can appreciate that from somebody who's been playing the game a lot longer than me. However, I don't feel that's an issue for new players. I feel that the game itself at the moment is in a great position for new players. It is a brilliant situation to be in. And I also think one of the other problems a lot of people have been talking about is the fact that gold weather's everywhere, marigolds is everywhere. What other thing? You've got Northern Realms finisher, things like that. And honestly, I actually think the fact that gold weather is useful in almost every deck, and the fact that marigolds is useful in almost any deck, and the fact that there are other cards that are useful in almost any deck is very good, very healthy, very positive for new players. People who are, especially new players who are free to play, because it means you can craft those cards. You can be more competitive straight away. Yes, you need to know that these cards are great, but you read a little bit on the forums, you watch a few videos, you will know that these cards are very powerful. And you can have access to them. You know to build them because they'll be good in almost any deck. I mean, I run Northern Realms and I don't run Gold Weather, but you could easily run Gold Weather and still find value from it, which a new player is more than welcome can do. You concentrate on them being your first gold cards. You've got 2 very powerful gold cards that you can run in almost any deck this patch, which I think is a very, very good thing for new players to have cards that are strong in almost any deck. but not necessarily auto-include in meta decks, which is where we move on to with Marigold's Hailstorm. Now, I know a lot of people have been moaning about Marigolds and saying it's overpowered and it needs nerfing or it needs a rework and things like that. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't think it's a powerful card, because I'd be insane to say that it's not a powerful card. It is a very powerful card. I've seen it go for, I've used it myself for 35, 40 points swings, which is very powerful, which is borderline too powerful. However, that's the only reason I got it that high is a very long range one, and my opponent not being sensible and playing around it. If you're sensible and you play around it, it's most you're going to get out of it is 20, 25 points from it maybe, unless of course you're playing movement Scoia'tael, which you just make the range short. You just make the range short, or you have a really long round one, because they need a long round 3 to win the game. So you either make it a really long round one, and they use their Marigolds and they get massive points out of it, and there's nothing you can do about it, so they stack it up for you. But then they've got no win condition for round 2 and 3, and the whole point of the game is managing your resources, and Marigolds is an extremely greedy card to get maximum value from, and the whole nature of Marigolds means that unless you take either round 1 or 2 cheaply, it's not dead in round 3, but it's not a great card for round 3, which means it isn't a finisher. It's not. So I don't think it's I don't think it needs tuning or anything. I think it's a great tech card. I personally run it in some of my decks, but not all of my decks, due to the fact that the silver slots are so tight at the moment. Marigolds is a great card, but I mean, in my Northern Realms Armor deck, I run it sometimes. I experiment with it, but is it necessarily better than all the tactic cards in Neneke? I don't think so. And obviously my Silver Mage. So I've got 4 tactics cards, Neneke and my Silver Mage. Is it better than any of them? Probably not. Especially with Mill around, because you need Neneke and Decoy. I have, at the moment, I'm running Marigolds. I've dropped marching orders for it, but that decreases the efficiency of my deck, which can be a problem. So I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's not an extremely powerful card that could be used in every meta deck, because of course it is extremely powerful and could be used in every meta deck. However, I've seen top players run meta decks without it in all the different meta decks, and I will be very, very, very interested to see Gwent Slam this weekend and see how many decks actually run Marigolds, because I personally don't think it'll be run as much as people possibly will expect. I think people are expecting it to be the #1 card, and I personally don't think it'll be run in over 50% of the decks. I think it'll be around 50%, because in all honesty, the silver slots are so tight, and a lot of decks need their good silvers to work efficiently. And I just don't see Marigolds being in everybody's deck, in over 50% of the decks, which shows me it's not a problem card. If the top players aren't going to be using it that much, then it's not a problem. If I'm wrong, and Gwent Slam it is running over 50% of the decks, and it does a lot of work, then yeah, I will possibly rethink my position on it, and maybe will be one of the people calling for a nerf on it. But at the moment, I honestly, from my standpoint, don't think it's an overpowered card, and I think it's not an easy card to play around, but you know how much value you're gonna get out of it, how much your opponent's gonna get out of it, and you know how to play around it. There are ways of playing around it, and really, there's only one real deck that stops you from playing around it, and that's Movement Scoia'tael, which struggles with round 2 and 3 finishes. if you can drag round 1 day, it really struggles with round 2 and 3 finishes. So I don't see marigolds personally as too much of an issue. The best thing about marigolds though is the fact that everybody plays around marigolds, and it makes things like Igni and Scorch. I haven't actually used Scorch in any of my decks this patch. However, I feel that Scorch would be a brilliant card this patch. It is one that I'm potentially thinking about running. However, a lot of my decks have high units, so that's the problem with Scorch. A lot of you're more likely to Scorch yourself as well, which is why I think Igni is such a brilliant card this patch, because of marigolds, people are stacking 2 rows, possibly 3 rows, and in a long round, those 3 rows with the power creep of this patch are highly likely to all be above 25 points, which means you have 3 targets for your Igni. You can pick and choose which one you want to hit, and more often than not, you'll hit 2 to 3 targets, and your Igni will be worth 20, 25, 30 points, and it makes marigolds, which is all because of marigolds. Because of marigolds, people are spreading and making it so that you have more than one option, and also the fact of power creep this patch, which I think makes Igni a card that I think is underused this patch. I know a lot of people are saying Eskel is the best neutral gold card because of his ability to shut things down. However, the thing with Eskel is you shut things down immediately, right? So you say somebody puts down a Farseer, you shut it down immediately. That Farseer is gone. So then they have to rethink their strategy, and they can adapt to it. However, with Igni, the round goes on and on and on, and then you slam Igni down at the end, and their game plan has been, they've had this game plan for turn after turn after turn. You slam Igni down, it obliterates Farseer, and they don't have any time to react. So I feel Eskel is possibly more reliable. However, I feel Igni is probably better if you can get it to hit, in my personal opinion. And the fact that, especially in my Northern Realms deck, I like long round 1s. I feel I want to win round 1. That is my objective because of this Stennis Shiny combo. I like to only have 1, maybe 2 cards in round 3, because it's very hard to beat Northern Realms in a short round 3, especially my deck, the way I run it. So because of the way I play round 1, I find I get a lot of value out of Igni. I feel Igni's a brilliant fourth gold to run. It is a movable slot, that fourth gold in Northern Realms Radovid decks, and I personally like Igni because of marigolds and the power creep. But anyway, back to the my general feel on this patch at the moment. Like I said, I'm a massive fan of this patch. I think the gold change is brilliant. It does need some tweaks and things, but in general, I feel it's a great change. The whole meta discussion, the whole meta situation at the moment, I feel is very healthy. The fact that there's 6 very competitive decks at the moment that I see high on ranked ladder, and the fact that also, I mean 7 if you include Mill, I feel that's brilliant, especially compared to last patch where it was Dagon, Dwarf, Dagon, Dwarf, Dagon, Skellige, Dwarf, Dagon. I feel it's a lot healthier than last patch in that regard. I also feel that there are some cards that are overtuned, and I feel the hotfix solved the main issue, which was Mulligan. Mulligan was insane what it could do. The fact that it had insane tempo whilst making your hand better constantly was just ridiculous. And I think that was a good move on CDBR's behalf to do that. And Stamon for Tremors was crazy as well. That needed definite attention. However, I don't feel Northern Realms does. The whole Shani Stennis combo into Dumbana. I know a lot of people moan about that, but you take that combo out and you switch it with the Nilfgaard's Rainfan Joachim combo, and nothing changes. I don't think the problem is the combo. The combo is almost exactly the same. The only difference is Rainfan 1 is probably easier to pull off due to the nature of how it works. It tutors the card from your deck as opposed to your graveyard. There is no deck interaction, so with Stennis, monsters can shit all over Stennis shiny combo with Katakan, Caretaker. They can just annihilate you. They can really throw the spanners in the works with that one. Whereas with the Rainfam Joachim, there's nothing you can do because the card's in the deck. There's no way of countering it. And also the Menno Infiltrator is another extremely powerful. They've got two extremely powerful finishers in that deck. The problem with it's not even a problem because I don't think that they're overtuned at all. I don't. But the reason Northern Realms is tier 1 and Spy Nilfgaard is probably top tier 2, low tier 1 is the fact. There's two facts. One is how consistent it is. You can deck yourself with Nilfgaard Spies. That is one way of playing it. So you do get the efficiency is high with it. However, it's probably not as easy. You do rely on a bit of RNG with your pulls and things. However, with Nilfgaard, with the other problem with Northern Realms, not a problem, but the reason Northern Realms is slightly better is its other gold cards, Dijkstra and John Natalis. Now, Dijkstra on his own is possibly the most powerful card in the game. Possibly. In the fact that it pulls 2 bronzes from you, the top 2 cards. So you have around 3 and you just have Dijkstra. Just say you've got Dijkstra. You play Dijkstra, pull Stennis, that pulls Dumbana, and then you pull Battering Ram. And there you go. So you've just done Stennis into Dumbana, which is 16 points, into Battering Ram, which is another it'd be 7 plus 3, so 10. So it's good 26 points. All right, you get -3 for Dijkstra, so it's a 23-point play, just Dijkstra on his own. However, that's if you've just got one card. There's no combo to do there. If you've got combos that you can do with, like, you can pull, you can pull Marigolds in a longer range where you smash somebody with Marigolds, or John Natalis into Horn. The fact that he enables all these things. If you haven't quite got to the bottom of your deck, but you've got some great cards in there, Dijkstra can be insanely powerful. Absolutely insanely powerful. So him on top of John Natalis. The fact that John Natalis isn't necessarily a finisher because he isn't as good in a short range 3 on his own. He's brilliant, absolutely brilliant in a long range 1. The fact that he can make you play Stennis twice, with decoy. So he adds 3 to Stennis plus his 6 plus whatever Stennis draws. That's very powerful. Or the old Commander's Horn is another 26 point play. He's another extremely powerful card. So they have, because of that, Northern Realms is slightly stronger than Nilfgaard Spies, but there's not a lot in it, and it is literally, I feel, because of the power of Dijkstra and John Natalis on top of Shani, is why they're better than Nilfgaard's Rainfan, Menno, and Vilgefortz, which normally the 3 you run because Kihir just does your leader ability again, which is great for efficiency, but isn't necessarily that powerful. Although it can be powerful, same way as Dijkstra can be powerful, only just not quite on that scale. So I don't think that that's an issue, Northern Realms. And like I said, I feel that it's very, very healthy, the current meta. One deck has to be the most powerful, and it just happens to be Northern Realms. I don't see why people are necessarily moaning about it. And I say it's the most powerful. Control, Scoia'tael, and Monsters are both very, very powerful in their own right. And I hate coming up against Control Scoia'tael. I hate it with my Northern Realms deck. It's not a great matchup for me personally. It might just be that I'm not brilliant at that matchup. I love the mirror. I love playing Northern Realms. In fact, I love playing Northern Realms whatever deck I run. However, I think that's probably because I'm best with Northern Realms, so I know how Northern Realms works, so it makes it easier to counter for me. But Dagon's a very, very strong deck, and it, again, has a lot of tools. The fact that people are leaving Neckers till the last round and then just eating them. I mean, you can have an 11-point Necker, you play it in round 3, you put a Van Warrior next to it, that's 33 points from the Necker. There, it's a 33-point card that isn't actually on the board. It's a brilliant, brilliant finisher. I feel Monsters is in a very, very strong state at the moment as well. So personally, I feel the meta is in a brilliant, brilliant state, and I feel the game's in a very strong state. Don't get me wrong, there are things that need changing, tweaks and things like that. Skellige definitely needs a bit of love, or possibly that just everything else needs to be slightly tuned down, maybe. I know a lot of people are moaning about the other problem with Skellige being how easily counterable they are, and they are quite easily counterable. Monsters with Graveyard movement kills them, but at the same time, you say that Axeman deck is still very playable. It is very playable, the Axeman deck. Movement doesn't necessarily affect it too much. I mean, you move the Axeman around, I suppose, but they're using Gold Weather anyway, so it doesn't make too much of a difference to Axeman. I think Axeman has a lot of potential. I know earlier, straight after the hotfix, it was very, very strong. It's declined slightly, but I think Axeman has a lot of potential still. It's just slightly out of flavor at the moment, but I think that's possibly in a good state. The other ones, the Greatsword decks, Queen's Guard, things like that, they possibly need a little bit of love. But all in all, I feel very good about the game at the moment. I'm making this video to show from a new person's perspective, because I know a lot of these content creators out there have been in the game for a long time, and like I said, I think that they're feeling the game's a bit stale. The fact that it's only really got one game mode. Alright, Pro Ladder's been added on, but that's just ranked ladder's slightly different. So I'm showing it from a new player's perspective, a free-to-play player's perspective, and I just want to get my opinions out there, and hopefully, who knows, some of these content creators out there will see this video and see that not all people think the game's currently in a bad situation, in a bad state, and that it isn't driving new players away. I think it is brilliant. One other point is, I know a lot some of these people who have been around a lot longer than me have moaned about the fact that these major changes are coming in far too often. So if you join the game, say 6 or 7 months back, you take a couple of months off, you come back and the game's completely changed. And this that's a fair point. I can see where that would be coming from. If you're not got your finger on the pulse on the game at all times, these changes can quickly get away from you, I can imagine. However, the game is still in beta. I know people will say it's been in beta a long time and it's starting to, can't use that excuse forever. However, the fact that it is beta, I mean, personally, I don't know, because I haven't been playing it for as long as everyone else. But right now, as a new player, I feel in beta they have license to make as many changes to make the game as good as possible before going live, would be my opinion. However, the other thing with major changes is it should freshen up the game. I mean, I feel like I'm not playing completely different games from last patch to this patch, but it's fresh. It is completely fresh. You can't say it's not fresh. It's not. This gold change is massive, and the fact that I feel the massive change does freshen it up. So personally, I'm not a massive hater on these big changes. However, like I said, I'm fairly new, so I don't feel my opinions holds quite as much weight as people who've been playing it as long and having to go through massive change after massive change after massive change. However, I have gone through one massive change and I'm all for it. So at the moment, I would say I'm not too adverse to it, but that isn't something I massively wanted to touch on, and that's why I left it to last. So yeah, this has been my video, my thoughts, my feelings on the game at the moment. It's been a long video. I had a lot to talk about. I do feel quite strongly about the game. I am very passionate about the game. I love the game, and I wanted to get that out there. I wanted people to know how I feel, how see it from a different perspective. I know a lot of people, you watch all these content creators and they've been in the game, they've been in other games, they've done things like that. I've never played another card game before. This is my first experience. I'm a brand new player, and I feel that possibly people want to see other people's experiences, like-minded experiences. I know a lot of newbies might want to see somebody with similar experiences to them and get their thoughts and feelings on the game. And also, I feel that possibly those people who have been in the game for a long time, seeing somebody who's new to the game, their perspective could possibly help them reevaluate their stance on the game and their thoughts and things. Because I know a lot of them, especially these content creators, they want to see the game grow, right? So they want to see lots of new players come to the game. They want to see them enjoy it. And I feel that there's a lot of negativity in the community and a lot of negativity in these content creators at the moment. And I feel that it's in itself is possibly making it less people. Your views will rub off on other people, and they will feel how you feel because they live vicariously through you in a lot of ways. And I feel I wanted to get my opinion across, to hopefully show these content creators that have been in it a long time that it isn't all doom and gloom. The game is very, very healthy at the moment, and new players are joining and thriving and loving the game. And I think that the game's in a very healthy position, and so long as they keep going forward, taking on the community's advice with things like looking at the gold interactions, possibly looking at potential things like with Northern Realms, if they are overtuned and I'm slightly wrong, then yeah, sure, nerf it slightly if that's how the whole community feels. This is just my personal opinion. I don't think it is, but sure, if that's what the community is. But I just want to get my opinion out there, and I feel that perhaps people could do with a fresh set of eyes, and a new person on the scene to let them know how they feel about the game. So yeah, I hope this video's been enjoyable. I have rambled on for a long time. I appreciate that, and it's probably not the cleanest video you've ever seen, as this is my very first go at making a YouTube video, and it is also my pretty much my second take. So I hope it was enjoyable. I hope you guys like it. If you do, give a thumbs up. Possibly think about subscribing. I will be doing more videos. I will be possibly doing videos of my rank play, pro ladder. I haven't actually started pro ladder, funnily enough. I qualified and I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. But I am starting, and I thought one of the things I could do is make videos of me playing pro ladder, help introducing, showing people how it works. Because I know a lot of streamers and stuff play pro ladder, but I've been watching them and none of them have really shown you how your MMR works and things like that. and how it works. So that might be something I'll go into doing, so that other people who are maybe new to the game and aren't on Pro Ladder can see how the Pro Ladder works. So that might be something I'm looking to do in further videos. But yeah, like I said, if you enjoyed the video, brilliant, give me a thumbs up, or possibly think about subscribing. And if you've got any of your opinions, anything like that, please feel free to leave some comments, and I will aim to be as interactive as possible with all my audience. So see you around, guys. See you until next time. Take it easy.